Hello and welcome to a double video, something I'm normally not keen on doing, but neither of the two games covered can be of any distinctive length without it just being me stretching the length of the videos. So I've decided to add two in one. No Amiga videos today because the recording I did, the audio was a bit messed up, so next time. Anyway, we will start with River Raid, even one of the earlier commercial games released for the Commodore 64, and I'm fairly sure I've seen it on other systems. You play a fighter plane which has been tasked to guard and destroy various bridges, and as you go through each level, you will be facing ships, helicopters, planes, tanks, and other goodies. Early on in the game, the ships, helicopters, planes, tanks, and other goodies are not doing anything. But as you progress, which is signified by blowing up a bridge, and more enemies will appear, more types of enemies will appear, and they will begin to move around very predictably initially, and then it starts getting quite unpredictable. You have a fuel meter, as you may or may not be able to see in the lower middle of the screen, and flying over the fuel markers will cause you to refuel a certain amount. As an early game, I think it's very easy to see that it is incredibly basic looking. Much of the graphics looks like something you copied from a computer magazine and programmed into your Commodore Basic. But that doesn't actually detract from the fact that it's surprisingly exciting to play this little simple game. The fact that the plane you are using, flying, call it what you want, is actually not just a static object, but they've made some effort into making it look like you're actually banking from side to side. That alone, based on the age of the game, is actually quite impressive in relative terms, of course. The graphics are basic, extremely basic. The sound effects are actually not too bad, perhaps a touch annoying in places, but I'm always harping on about gameplay, and despite its simplicity, it is actually somewhat exciting to play this game. It's probably not a game you can play for any extended periods of time, but considering considering how early in the Commodore 64's life this game was made, it's definitely not the prettiest or best sounding game ever made, but you know what? It's not half bad. Back then, anything that moved on the screen and made more than pling plong sounds would have been impressive, and back in the day, 83, 84, I probably wouldn't have been overly unhappy about a game like this. As you progress through the different stages, it will get significantly more difficult, and around stage 7, the tanks will start shooting at you. Well, they'll not necessarily start shooting at you, but they'll start shooting, which means that you have another thing you have to evade. They have a bad habit of firing in the line with your refuel things, so trying to refuel becomes suddenly very, very awkward. I don't find this game to be the most exciting game I've ever played, obviously, but it's definitely not bad. To find an old banger like it is, it's definitely not a bad little game. My most vivid memory of this game, though, is visiting two of my half-brothers who was playing, if not this game, then a game very similar to it on some random old console system. And they were happily playing and playing and playing and never offered me or my brother a chance to play, which I felt was incredibly nice of them. And considering I'm still remembering it some 36, 7 years later, it made some sort of impact. Anyway, next up is West Bank, also in some arcades known as Bank Panic. Now I don't know whether this is a licensed product or just a heavily inspired product, as there's no reference to the original arcade developer, but who cares? It's the Commodore 64 version we are on about, whatever foundation is of whatever background it comes from. In West Bank, you play as a bank guard, and your job obviously is to guard the bank. When you enter the game, you see 3 doors, and if you look at the top of the marker of the screen, even you can see there's a number from 1 to 12, and underneath there's either a blank marker or a $sign. You cannot complete a level before you've received a money deposit from all doors, which means that if the game wants to have a little bit of fun, you can be stuck on 3 doors for 2 or 3 minutes, because for some bizarre reason it keeps putting back guys at the door you are waiting for the last deposit from. You can possibly You can probably imagine, as a bank guard, you're not supposed to shoot civilians, and as you progress through the different stages, the main chance is actually not being too quick off the mark with your revolver, 6-shooter, or joystick, whatever you prefer to consider it being. After each stage has been completed, you will be met by 3 assassins, which will who will draw after 5 seconds, and they will draw in a specific order, and you cannot shoot them without them having actually drawn, which of course will cost your life if you shoot them, just like what happened here. I got the 2 first right, but the 3rd one had not drawn his gun yet, so in the arcade it was considered to be an unfair treatment. So whatever, it costs your life. Shooting a civilian will cost your life as well, and being shot will or did not also cost your life. As you get further into the levels, you will meet different bad guys. These blue-jacketed gentlemen can just as well deposit money as they can draw their guns, so you actually have to wait patiently to see what they do. In this video sequence, they seem to be overly concerned about drawing the weapons, but if you shoot them before they're drawn, you lose a life. As you may or may not have noticed, there's this short stature person, to keep it politically correct, showing up from time to time with a bunch of hats. You can shoot those hats, and if he has a bomb underneath the last hat, you probably don't want to shoot that, but if he's got a money sack, you can shoot that, so it effectively counts as having collected money from that door. The way the game is played is when you're facing the 3 doors, you use a fire left to shoot the left door, fire without anything to shoot the middle door, and fire and right to shoot the right hand door. And as you've seen a few times now, just because you have someone who looks like they're going to deposit money, that doesn't mean a bad guy can't come and push them out of the way, which can happen extensively. A game that I have not added to this video, I think I was stuck in front of 3 doors for about 2 minutes, 2 full minutes, before I got the money deposits. Later down the line, there will be bombs on some of the doors, and if you shoot them, they'll blow up, so you probably don't want to do that, so you have to make sure that the door is not in view and let it just go off. Who cares about the bank staff? They'll just have to take cover, I suppose. From a graphical point of view, the game is absolutely fine. You can easily identify who's the bad guys and who are not the bad guys. And the music, while not bad quality, gets rather repetitive after a while, and it will probably drive you bonkers sooner or later. The sound effects, they are. That's the only thing I need to say about them. But one massive gripe I have for this game is because you have to move to the side and press fire in order to shoot at either of the side doors. If you shoot before you move the joystick, you will shoot at the middle door and the side door at the same time. And sometimes you, as I will show in a second, shoot at all three doors at the same time. Not too bad. So the game has infinite levels, you cannot complete it. It will loop eventually. And unless you are a super patient type and absolutely master score chaser, this will probably fizzle sooner than later. And on that note, I will say thanks for watching, take care, see you next time, bye bye for now.